All right, well, this is going to be game number 5, and tonight you could see a lot of chances for clinchings. 3 chances to clinch: the 08 Giants, the 81 Dodgers, and the 17 Astros. Tonight we're going to go to a 2-2 series. It's going to be in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Athletics, and the New York Yankees of 1998. So it's going to be an old-time tournament right here, and what we're going to do is go here to Shibe Park in Philadelphia, and we're going to see this here at Shibe Park. For New York, you're going to have Knobloch, Jeter, Williams, Shane Spencer, Apollo, Neal, Brocious, Martinez, Raines, and Posada. For the New York Yankees, who were in a 3-way tie for a championship of their division, lost to the 72 Pirates, but then they won their second tiebreaker game, so they got in. For the Philadelphia Athletics, you had Miller, Fox, Haas, Simmons, Mickey Cochran, Dykes, Hiller, Boley, and Suma. And we're going to get ready to go here. George Earnshaw, 3-0 in the playoffs, 183 ERA, 2-2. The series lead. The first batter is Knobloch, and he walks. So Earnshaw walks, Knobloch to first base, and here's Derek Jeter hitting .242, just like Knobloch. And Bernie Williams is at .241. Earnshaw, and inside on the ground. It'll be 1-4, and that's going to be it. 1 out. So here's Bernie Williams at center field. Bernie Williams, 1 out, 1 on. Here's George Earnshaw against Bernie. Struck him out, 2 outs. Here in game number 5, there's 2 outs. And now here's Shane Spencer, the DH. Spencer will be on the ground, picked up on first base. That's going to be it. We go to the bottom of the first inning. It's 0-0. Bottom of the first, here's Miller. It's going to be Miller, Fox, Haas, Simmons, Cochran, and Dykes, Hiller, Boley, and Suma. So here is David Wells, the pitcher. He's .393. This is during Prohibition, so all of the things and stories about him, he nowhere to go. No speakeasy, so Bing Miller in right field. He's ready to go. Miller to left field, and that's going to be a base hit for Philadelphia. Here in Shibe Park, the 1929 Philadelphia A's. And that's going to be the first hit of the game. Jimmy Fox at first base. So Wells to Jimmy Fox. That's going to be inside. They're going to steal second. And that's going to be Miller, who will get to second base. Jimmy Fox out from David Wells. And that'll be on the ground. Short to first. And he throws it away. So an error. And Miller will go into sacrifice position. Bottom of the first inning, nobody out. Here's Mule Haas, the center fielder. Mule, high to deep left field. And this could be an early, guys in the stands. You can see that bug in the game, and it's a home run. Mule Haas, a 3-run home run, and it is 3-0. Oh, if you rewind this, you can see the guy run into the stands. Look at this. There it is. And you can see, look at this guy center field running into the stands. There it is. Let's see. Look at this guy in center field. Let's go into the stands. Whoop! Oh, wow. He went all the way up. And it is a 3-0 game. Here is Al Simmons. Left field, 3-0. High pop fly center field. And underneath, that's going to be caught. 1 out. Bottom of the first inning. And here's Mickey Cochran, the catcher, hitting .400. Struck him out, and that's going to be 2 outs. 2 outs, bottom of the first inning, and here's Jimmy Dykes, third base. And that'll be a hard shot to right field and a base hit. So bottom of the first 2 outs, here's Chuck Hiller. And Chuck Hiller, 1 on, 2 outs. David Wells having trouble, struck him out. Well, Philadelphia gets 3 runs on a home run to score. Philadelphia 3, New York nothing. Second inning. And here is Paul O'Neill, right field. As George Earnshaw, he gave up a walk early. O'Neill, it's going to be high pop fly. Let's see who gets it. Shortstop underneath, 1 out. So that's going to be Boley. 1 out, here's Scott Brocious, the third baseman, hitting .333 in the playoffs. Struck him out, and that's going to be 2 outs. So 2 outs, here's Tino Martinez, hitting 7th. Martinez, again, it's going to be a little looper. Third baseman's going to get underneath. They get it. And that's going to be it. The Yankees still do not have a hit. It's 3-0 A's. They had a walk. First batter of the game, Chuck Knobloch, walked for the Yankees. And it's been all 0 for 1s. Here's Boley for Philadelphia Athletics. Bottom of the second inning, it's 3-0. That'll be to right field. Deep, but underneath they're going to come in a little bit. That'll be a catch, 1 out. That's Paul O'Neill. So Paul O'Neill, here comes Homer Summa, the DH, hitting .188. Jammed him, and he'll go second to first. And that'll be 2 outs, bottom of the second inning. And here's Miller, Bing Miller, 1 for 1. Bing. Base hit, and Bing Miller will get on. The 4th base hit of the day for Philadelphia, and it is 3-0. Bottom of the second, here's Jimmy Fox. Jimmy's 0 for 1. The pitch. Outside to throw to second on the steal. They're going to get him out. Well, that's it. We go to the top of the 3rd inning. Philadelphia's 3-run home run. That's it. It's 3-0. Well, right now it's a 3-0 game, and you can see 3 elimination games, only 1 elimination score. The 72 Pirates having trouble. They are. They just don't match up well. They won a game barely. You know, 1-0 for the Dodgers. Now, here we go in the top of the 3rd inning. It's going to be Raines, Posada, and Knobloch. They got to get on. And Earnshaw. High is Tim Raines, and a base hit. It'll be a single. They go to right field. That's going to be 1 on. Top of the 3rd inning. Here's Jorge Posada, the catcher, hitting .360. And they're not going to bunt. It'll be a 1-1. Oh, a hit, and it's going to hit the gap. They might make it 3-1. It hits the wall. Let's see him go. It is a deep outfield. They're going to stop him at 3rd. And it'll be 2nd and 3rd, 3-0. So Raines is in sacrifice position. Posada at 2nd. And here's Chuck Knobloch. So back-to-back hits, and Knobloch, who had the walk earlier. Earnshaw. And they're going to walk no block the second time. The bases are loaded. Nobody out here in the third. Humongous at bat for Derek Jeter. Derek is 0 for 1. It's a win if he hits into a double play even though they score. Jeter, oh, that was a bad thing he did was pop up foul and 1 out. The catcher got to get back. Somebody's got to cover home. 1 out and Bernie Williams. Bases loaded, 1 out. The pitch and he struck him out. 2 outs. Bernie strikes out his second time today. Wow. Second time for Bernie Williams, and here's Shane Spencer. The GH. Earnshaw could get out of this. Little looper. And it's a base hit. 1 is going to score. 2 are going to score, and it's 3-2. A little looper with 2 outs, and it is 3-2 now. Here's Paul O'Neill, 0 for 1, and it gets by. So you don't want to lose or tie on a wild pitch, especially in the playoffs. 2 outs, the pitch to O'Neill. Struck him out, and that'll end the inning. Earnshaw would have got out of it better, but a little blooper scores 2, and the score Philadelphia 3, New York 2. Bottom of the third inning here in the second Creators Cup. Remember the 0-4 Red Sox losing to the 0-1 A's in the last one. Much more plethora of teams. Here's Jimmy Fox, David Wells, 32 pitches. And that's going to be Jimmy Fox and a base hit. So they need an extra run. Here in the bottom of the third inning, they need to get those 2 back. So Fox will be on first base. Here's Mule Haas. He hit the 3-run home run to begin the game. So here we go. Here's Mule Haas, bottom of the third inning. Struck him out, and that's going to be 1 out. So 1 out. The A's do not have any numbers on their uniforms. Here's Al Simmons. Simmons to deep center field. This one is back, and they're going to get their 2 runs back. It's gone. 488 feet. Oh, my God, what a hit. And the A's have a 5-2 lead. And the A's, it is 5-2 now. Incredible 1 out in the bottom of the third, and now Andy Pettit will come in. He's got to stop the bleeding. Here's Mickey Cochran. Andy Pettit is the new pitcher. You might say, why? Because you're in the playoffs, game 5. Cochran, oh, and it goes past the left fielder, and it's going to be a base hit. So played it weirdly was Tim Raines, and here's Jimmy Dykes. They got to do something right now, because right now Jimmy Dykes this is huge. On the ground, should be 4-6-3, and they get it. And that'll be it, 5-2. As we go to the 4th inning, the A's get the 2 runs back. Here in the top of the 4th inning, you have Brocious, Martinez, and Raines. George Earnshaw, it's a 5-2 game. It'll be on the ground. Short, the first, that's going to be 1 out. 1 out. Top of the 4th inning, and here's Tino. Tino Martinez at first base. Struck him out, and that's going to be 2 outs. Well, I'll tell you what, right now, the players for the Yankees now know they don't want to go down 3 games to 2, even though, I mean, really, in Game 5 on a 2-2 series, the road team has the advantage. If they win, that's big. It'll be on the ground, second to first, 3 outs, because if the road team wins, they're at home in Game 6. In this series, it's 2-2, 1-1-1. Go to the bottom of the 4th, 5-2. Bottom of the fourth inning, Andy Pettit is in. He's only through 7 pitches to get 2/3 of an inning. Here's Chuck Hiller at second base. And Chuck now, hard on the ground. It'll be second to first, 1 out. So he goes a full inning on 9 pitches. No strikeouts. Boley and Suma. Here's Joe Boley, the shortstop. That'll be a base hit, and Joe Boley will get on first. So Joe Boley will get on first, bottom of the fourth inning, and here's Suma. Suma should be 4-6-3. 4-6-3, and they get him out. And that'll be the end of the inning. We go to the top of the 5th inning. The score, Philadelphia 5, New York 2. And when you look at this, taking a look at all of these elimination scores, nowhere. Nobody has an elimination score. The Pirates, Gene Alley, singles, Manny Sanguian scored. If the Pirates win, they would have to win in L.A., and if they win in L.A., if they win tonight, then win in L.A., they play Game 7 at home. The 49 Brooklyn Dodgers, they could take a 2-1 series lead. They're pushing L.A. back. The first 3 seeds have never advanced in the same round in the Creators Cup. Not last year. We had upsets galore in the first round. I think number 1 went down. He reached for that one, and Posada to first. That'll be 1 out. Posada is out. Yeah, that was a bad swing, way away. Chuck Knobloch, he walked twice, top of the 5th, 1 out, 5-2. Knobloch, it'll be on the ground. Third to first, 2 outs. He should have just stood there with his bat and didn't swing it. It'll be 2 outs. Top of the 5th, Derek Jeter, 0 for 2. Jeter's hitting .229, no home runs and 1 RBI. Earnshaw, 69 pitches so far. That'll be on the ground, short. They'll go to first, and they get Jeter at first. So we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. The score, Philadelphia 5, New York 2. Bottom of the 5th inning, you got Bing Miller's 2 for 2. So Bing Miller, the right fielder, 2 for 2 today. He would love to go 3 for 3. Oh, L.A. L.A. is now up 3-1. We have an elimination score. So that is big. Anytime you can win a series in a Creator Cup, you have to. And right now, who is it? We'll see how they did at the end of the next inning, the 6th inning. Here's Bing Miller, 2 for 2. Andy Pettit still in. Miller to right field, and he's going to run. Let's see how fast Bing Miller can run. He goes past first. He goes to second. They throw to second. It'll be a stand-up double. Here in the 5th inning, and here's Jimmy Fox. Fox is 1 for 2. And that's going to be ball 4. Bottom of the 5th, 5-2. The A's lead the Yankees. Here's Muehlhaus, 1 for 2. He hit the 3-run homer earlier in the game. He hits another 3-run homer, and good night. It'll be 8-2. That's going to be to the gap, and now they're going to score a couple. Muehlhaus has been incredible. 1 run is going to score. Haas is going around second. They're going to throw it in. Haas will stay at second, and this thing will be 7-2. They still got nobody out. 7-2, bottom of the 5th, and here's Al Simmons. Left fielder, he's 1 for 2 today, a home run. And that'll be on the ground. Third to first, 1 out. So Brocious will throw to Martinez. Here's Mickey Cochran, 1 for 2 today, hitting .405 in the playoffs. That's going to be a high pop fly left field. And underneath, they're going to make the catch, 2 outs. If you're New York, you're already thinking the next inning, you got to start scoring. You really have to. Remember, if the A's win, they guarantee at least a Game 7 at home. Wow, for the Pirates, they're getting people on. Ball 4, and it's going to be 2 outs. And Jimmy Dykes will go to first off the walk. Here's Hiller. Chuck Hiller is 0 for 2. Jammed him, and it'll be second to first, 3 outs, but 2 more. For the Philadelphia A's, New York is in serious trouble. You go to the top of the 6th at 7-2. Wow. A lot of close games. This one's a blowout, but you never know. The Pirates now have a 4-3 lead. They have a 4-3 lead. They were down 3-1. That was an elimination score. They now lead 4-3. They have a survivor score. Here's Bernie Williams, 0 for 2. Earnshaw still pitching. Williams, ball 4. And Williams will go to first base, and now here's Shane Spencer. Shane is 1 for 2 today. High pop fly and a base hit. They got 2 on, and they're going to stay at first and second. Nobody out, 2 on. Top of the 6th inning, Paul O'Neill, 0 for 2. Oh, and it gets away. Well, the Yankees can double sacrifice and make it 7-4. This is really big. George Earnshaw, 79 pitches. This is the chance the Yankees have to try and come back. O'Neill is 0 for 2 today. They walk him, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. And now the New York Yankees have a chance to really load up some runs. They're down by 5, and the Philadelphia A's, they're nervous. Here's Scott Brocious. So Scott Brocious 0 for 2 today. Oh my goodness. Struck him out, 1 out. Oh, that was big. The Yankees need 2 runs. They could have double sacrificed, 2 flyouts, but that is very big. Here's Tino Martinez. Earnshaw with 1 out. Martinez 0 for 2. A double play ends the inning. Ball 4, and that's going to be a run. It's 7-3 now, and they keep the sacrifice position open. And now at third base, occupying that is Shane Spencer. He's in sacrifice position. Tim Raines 1 for 2 today. This is absolutely incredible. Right now, 6th inning, 1 out, bases loaded. The pitch to Raines. Struck him out, 2 outs. 2 strikeouts for George Earnshaw. He did walk somebody in the middle. New York needs another run, and they know it. It's to have bases loaded with nobody out. Only getting 1 run is a complete failure when you're down 7-2. Top of the 6th, 2 outs, bases loaded. The pitch to Posada. Inside, ball 4, and it's now 7-4. So they came in needing 2, and they got 2 here in the top of the 6th inning. Here's Knobloch, 0 for 1 today, and he walked twice. Big for Earnshaw, 107 pitches. The pitch here. Struck him out, so he struck out the side. But he walked 2, gave up some hits, and we go to the bottom of the 6th to score. Philadelphia 7, New York 4. Bottom of the 6th inning, it's Joe Boley, the shortstop Andy Pettit. So Andy Pettit, bottom of the 6th inning, and they got to stop Philadelphia. Boley, and that's going to be a base hit. How far will he run? It goes all the way to the wall. Boley to second. If they can get it in, they'll be all right, and it'll be a stand-up double. Andy Pettit, 47 pitches in 2 2/3. Bottom of the 6th, nobody out, and here's Suma. Homer Suma, the DH. On the ground, and second. They throw to first, and they barely get him 1 out. Derek Jeter, a great play. That is huge. Here's Bing Miller, 3 for 3. They might walk him to set up the double play. Jimmy Fox is good, though. On the ground, takes a weird roll. They'll throw to first, 2 outs. They got an important run at second base. Here's Jimmy Fox, 1 for 2 today. He's ended up scoring 3 runs. He got hit and he walked. And he had a hit and he walks again. That's going to be ball number 4 in the bottom of the 6th with 2 outs. 2 outs, and here's Mule Haas, who's 2 for 3 today, a home run, 5 RBI. He had a 3-run homer, and his second hit had 2 people come in. The pitch. On the ground to first. He didn't produce here. He has 5 of the 7 RBI. He also has the 3rd out of this inning. We go to the 7th, and the A's have a 7-4 lead. Al Red Sox fan, good to see you. Al Red Sox fan, very good to see you. Thank you very much. This is round 2, game number 5. The semifinals and the finals, I'm going to do pitch by pitch. Pitch by pitch. Just because the enormity and all the attention and all that is on it. The earlier rounds, this round and the next round, will be all single batters. Single pitches. I mean, some of these batters are married. Quickly, the look out of town. The Brooklyn is beating LA 2-1, bottom of the 8th. The Astros, it's 2-2, bottom of the 7th. The Pirates, a survive score. And same with Washington, no elimination score. It's all been survive scores. So right now, nobody looks to eliminate. The Pirates a 6-3 lead, 3 more outs, and Pedro Guerrero, the Pirate Killer. I mean, tomorrow will be game 6, so the Pittsburgh Pirates, if they survive tomorrow. If they survive tomorrow, then game 7's at 3 Rivers. Just never know. One game at a time. Here's Earnshaw to Derek Jeter, top of the 7th inning. Jeter on the ground. The 3rd to first. That's going to be 1 out. 5-3 is the throw. And that'll be Jimmy Dykes to Jimmy Fox. So here's Bernie Williams, 0 for 2, top of the 7th. They want at least another one. Bernie Williams struck out a lot today. He's going to get on an infield hit. He's going to make it. So he'll be on first with 1 out. Bernie Williams struck out twice today. Shane Spencer, 2 for 3. He has 2 RBIs. Bernie Williams is at first. Earnshaw still in at 117 pitches. High pop fly over to first. And that's going to be an out, 2 outs. Al Red Sox fan, good to see you. He's listening from work. Really enjoy his broadcast. He was doing boxing last night. I got to see that Tyson Fury and Mike Tyson. Battle of the Tysons, though one's the first name and one's the last name. That'll be really fun to watch. I'm going to get up. I'm going to get early with this done. Maybe. Who knows the way this goes. Jack Quinn is the new pitcher, and he's going to go to Paul O'Neill. Top of the 7th, 2 outs. Quinn to O'Neill. Quinn to center field. Will it drop? And it will be caught. Enjoy the out-of-town scoreboard. All game sevens will be pitch by pitch. They'll be pitch by pitch. They have to be. Here's Al Simmons. 1 for 3 today. Has a home run. Bottom of the 7th inning, and the A's are up. 7-4. Posada to first, 1 out. So Posada to Tino Martinez, 1 out. Bottom of the 7th inning. Here's Mickey Cochran. 1 for 3. I don't think we're going to have an elimination today. You see the Pirates up 9-3. Struck him out. And that's going to be 2 outs. Bottom of the 7th here with 2 outs. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th, Jimmy Dykes, 1 for 2. God, the Pirates are up 10-3. They're looking good. That'll be on the ground. They pick it up, throw to first. It's an error. Let's see what happens here. Jimmy Dykes will go 1 for 3 now. And here's Hiller, 0 for 3 now. Chuck Hiller, 2 outs, bottom of the 7th. Jimmy Dykes at first. High pop fly, center field. And that should end the inning, and it does. We go to the top of the 8th inning. The A's have a 7-4 lead here in Game 5. It is a pivotal Game 5. Whoever wins this will pivot to taking the lead. Here's Scott Brocious at third base. Jack Quinn is still pitching. Brocious will be on the ground. They go first. They flip it over. He's safe. He beats it out. So Brocious is on first. Nobody out. You got to be careful. Here's Tino Martinez, 0 for 2. Quinn is in here. They got to get something going. They just can't ride this one out and like in football and take a knee. High and 1 out. Top of the 8th inning, 1 out, and here's Tim Raines. 1 for 3 here in game number 5. The winner takes a 3-2 series lead. Quinn to Raines on the ground, 4, 6, 3, and that's it. And we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. And the Oakland A's have a 7-4 lead, and the Yankees get nothing. Bully, Suma, and Miller. Joe Bully, the shortstop. Hideki Arabu is the new pitcher. And that'll be on the ground. Short. The first 1 out. So 1 out. Hideki Arabu was in the last inning. I didn't catch him coming in. Here comes Homer Suma, the DH. On the ground to first. And that's going to make it 2 outs. Bottom of the 8th inning, and here's Miller. Big Miller, 3 for 4. High pop fly and a base hit. Miller will get on. Bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. Here's Jimmy Fox. Jimmy Fox, the first baseman. 2 outs. Hideki Arabu trying to get the end here. That'll be on the ground. Second, he'll just take that unassisted. While the Yankees have 3 outs to get 3 runs, it's a save situation at 7-4. So Jack Quinn, this is actually a save situation. Look, the Yankees have a 3-2 lead. Quickly, top of the 9th inning. The Pirates survive. 12-3. They were down 3-1. They scored 11 straight. Look at the 66 Dodgers. They win. They go up 3 games to 2, but they go to Brooklyn. They were down 2-1 for a lot. Top of the 9th inning. Washington looking like they're going to survive. It's 3-1 there, 2 outs. We'll keep an eye on that. And look at this. The Yankees, 3-2. You might have everybody survive. Oh, Johnny Roseboro hit a 3-run home run to win the game in the bottom of the 9th inning. That's what happened. Here we go. Top of the 9th inning. You got Posada, Knobloch, and Jeter. Here's Jorge Posada from Jack Quinn. Posada, and that's going to hit the ground and be a base hit. Posada. Ball will go to the wall. He's going to second base. They need 3 check marks. He gets the first one. They throw to third. Oh, what is he doing? And he's going to be out at third. Oh, my goodness. He overran the stop sign. What a big error. That is a huge error. Here's Chuck Knobloch now, the second baseman. And that's going to be a walk, his third of the day. My God, it could have been first and second with the tying run coming up with nobody out. Oh my, what an error by Jorge Posada. Here's Derek Jeter. Jeter's 0 for 4. Jack Quinn, 23 overall pitches. The pitch here. On the ground, could be the game. They throw to first, though. It's going to be 2 outs. The Yankees need one more runner to get on before they can think tie game. And they got Bernie Williams. Bernie Williams now. Oh, this is big. Williams will walk, and a tying run will come up. Paul O'Neill will come up, and he can tie the game. Bill Shores, it's a save situation. No, it's Shane Spencer. Shane Spencer now, the DH. 2 for 4 today. 2 on, 2 out. The tying run is Shane Spencer. Bill Shores trying to come in, get a 1-out save. The pitch. Hits him, jammed him right to the second baseman, throws to first, and that's it. Philadelphia now has a 3-2 series lead. The Philadelphia A's now have a 3-2 series lead. Wow, and that was very big as the A's had a 7-2 lead, 7-4, and that was it. They had a chance a couple times, but didn't work out. Player of the game is Buell Haas. Really quickly, Earnshaw gets the win, Quinn the hold, Shores the save. David Wells gets the loss. Taking a look right here, Miller 4 for 5. Muelas 2 for 4 with 5 RBI. Wow. That was pretty good. For the Yankees, Spencer and Posada both got multiple hits. Martinez, O'Neill, Jeter, and Knobloch all with donuts, so Knobloch walked 3 times. For Philadelphia, Hiller got a donut, and he didn't even walk. He struck out once. Selma got a donut, and he didn't strike out. That's really big, and let's see if there's any other. There is. Let's go bottom of the 9th, 1 out. If Houston wins, they eliminate New York. If they get 2 runs, they eliminate New York. Here's Gurriel. Gurriel with 1 out. Bottom of the 9th inning. We'll see more. Gurriel gets a base hit. Gurriel will go to first now with 1 out. So 1 out, bottom of the 9th. There will be a Game 7 here at worst. Here's Aoki, a DH in the season, 232. Only 4 home runs. They would win the series if he get 1 out, but they're looking for contact. 1 out, bottom of the 9th. They need him to move. We'll see more. Aoki, high to right field, and caught. 2 outs. Oh, that's Durst with the catch. And that's going to be 2 outs. 2 outs and Jose Altuve, 2 for 4. Already a home run now. If he would hit this, the stadium would never survive. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. More. That'll be on the ground. They get it. Second. Short to second, and that's it. And the Yankees win 3-2. They win game number 5. And game number 6 will be at their home. So in the top of the 9th inning, that was, a bases loaded walk. Tough. Hoyt gets the win, Moore the save, Giles the loss. And right now, when you look at it, multiple hits by Lazary and Collins for New York, that's it. For Houston, Altuve and Gurriel, total hits 7-6. Spread out way too much for the Yankees to have multiple hits, but a lot of people. Mike Isaiah, the 119-year veteran. Yeah, that's a little too much. Hey, 10 hits a year, and 10 hits a year, and guess what? You're in the 1,000-hit club. Yeah, 10,000 hits. You get 100 hits a year. But no, it's very big. We go to game number 6, and that's going to be it for everything. Let's take a look at the remaining scores and the remaining series. So you have a 5-2 win, 4 in the bottom of the 9th for the Dodgers. They now lead 3-2. The Yankees pull within 3-2 as they survive Houston 3-2. A lot of 3-2s being thrown around. The Nationals cut the New York lead to 3-2, and they play at home. 4-1 win. The Pirates just blow out the Dodgers. They were down 3-1, bottom of the 6th inning. 3 runs made it 4-3, and 6-3, then 12-3. So the Dodgers will host tomorrow in game number 6, and the Philadelphia Athletics, they take a 3-2 series lead with their win today, 7-4. Quickly, when you look at this, the 66 Dodgers will be in Brooklyn for game number 6, trying to clinch. The Houston Astros will be in New York. Charlie Morton trying to clinch against George Pipgrass. The 1908 Giants are going to be at Washington. Red Ames trying to clinch against Max Scherzer. Red Ames against Max Scherzer. The 72 Pirates, a big win here. And it's going to be Bob Moose versus Fernando Valenzuela in L.A. And we're going to see if they can keep on with that series. Fernando Valenzuela, if he can keep on with the good pitching. Because I'll tell you what, in Game 7 in Pittsburgh, you got Luke Walker against Bob Welsh. But I don't know. I don't know on that. And the Philadelphia Athletics, they're going to try and go to New York. And Lefty Grove against Orlando Hernandez. Nobody clinched today. So that's an incredible performance. Beatles eternally. Great to see you, Beatles eternally. Oh, that's great. Sometimes, here's the thing. When I do games, Beatles, I have the chat on in the background. It's Ali versus Fury. Dang it, I messed up. So Al Red Sox fan, good to see you. Beatles eternally, I love your broadcast. I really feel bad because I always chat in yours and you always chat back. I get so slammed when I do mine that I just keep on watching and do the game. I forget to look at the comments. And I really, really enjoy both Al Red Sox fans channel and Beatles eternally, your channel. My God, I feel I'm very lucky that I get to watch those two every morning when I'm in work. And I now have a TA, a teaching assistant, and I'm going to be teaching them baseball and American sports, a lot of that. So that's great. That's absolutely wonderful. All right. Well, we go. That's it for us today. Beatles eternally, thank you very much. Oh, great to see you. I consider your channel the best baseball channel by far. I'm more of a general person that goes around, with the seasons, and your channel is easily the baseball channel by far and away. And also, I'm looking for that new Steam game with the stars. You know, it's in space, and it's supposed to be extremely big. And it's a new one. It's not PlayStation 5. It's only Microsoft and Xbox, what do you call that, exclusive to them, which sucks because I have a PS5. I'm going to lose myself for a year in a game. But yeah, that's your baseball channel. By far and away is the best. The knowledge, the people that are in there, and the way you interact. It's so fun being in that channel. Starfield, yes. Yeah, Starfield. Yeah, that's coming in. But I love your channel because of the people that come in and your commentary. You're really good at commentary. You have a great voice for it. And also what you say and what you do is incredibly good. And don't sell yourself short on that. You have a great voice and your knowledge is beyond anything that announcers have today. I have general knowledge. You have, by God, you have the great knowledge. That's why I want to go to a game with you when I go back to the States next summer, is because I like talking baseball, but just listening to you. I used to eat the media buffet when I was an intern at KDKA with Chuck Tanner, and we never talked baseball because I didn't have the knowledge. Chuck Tanner's from Newcastle, and Newcastle's near, Pittsburgh. But he used to be awesome. Like, we never talked baseball. It used to be me, there was Chuck Tanner, and then when Jim Leland was a talent scout for the Cardinals. And Jim Leland never really talked. I was there. I ate with Chuck Tanner. Me and Chuck Tanner talked, but we talked about life. And we always sat next to each other, where I was staying and stuff like that. And it was great. It was really good. But I never went on in the media. I don't know. I saw the end of the media. I saw it, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I would have gone into the media, I would have been laid off today. I would have, and it would have been, it was a blast. It was a blast. It was fun, but it wasn't, how should I say? It gave me the feeling of seeing a good colleague at work. And I'm sure we've always done that, where you see somebody in a lunchroom, you go there, you have a great 30 minutes seems like 30 seconds. That's the type of fun it was. It was very good. I really liked it. It was very solid. I really liked it. He was a good guy. He knew more baseball. He told me stories about pitchers, and when it was one time it was 19-0 in Philadelphia, and they had to save their bullpen. This was in '79, and they had to keep the one starter in. And they said, hey, I owe you, and all this stuff. And I forget who the starter was. And he'd visit the mound. Back then, you could visit just as long as it wasn't twice in an inning. And he would go out every inning and just encourage me, hey, you're saving our bullpen. Let's get through this. And he said it was hard when it got up to like 18-19-0. He's like, oh, my God. But it was fun. It was solid. I liked the stories and listening. Bob Uecker was probably the most fun at the table. I just shut up and listened to him the whole time. Like Bob Uecker, I shut up and listened. Like that guy would talk, and I would listen to his stories. I see, if I were at a table with Bob Uecker, I could not, how should I say, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't add to the conversation. I couldn't. What was I going to say? I'm listening to this great guy tell this story full of F words and all these crazy things. And no, not football. But he didn't say F-ball. Other F words. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, how's he turn this off? And then, so I absolutely, he told, oh, my God, I don't know if he was married or not, but the stories he told about bringing people back to the hotel rooms, oh, my God. And then all of a sudden, I mean, that was probably before the internet. I don't even know if he's still alive. If he's still alive, he probably doesn't appreciate me telling the story of that to the internet. Oh, well, I'm in Pakistan. They don't like it. Then come over here. That's why you got to watch your mouth if you're Bob Uecker. But anyway, he used to win for the Brewers when they played the Pirates all 88 times that they would in a year. It was very interesting hearing him. And, but I shut up the whole time because what am I going to do? Tony La Russa was different. La Russa was the manager of the Cardinals at the time. And I went in to interview him, and I said this in a broadcast of your channel today. I went in at KDKA. I was an intern, so all I did was hold the microphone up. But I told La Russa, I go like this. I said, hey, it's your baseball game that got me into stats and baseball and sports. I said, because beforehand I had to do everything by hand, and I was in second grade. And I'm like, my God. I'm like, I was doing math because I needed to, and your game made it great, and had all the players, and it was great. And I go, so thank you. And he goes, oh, all right. Well, glad to see somebody in the game. Very like that. Of course, the Cardinals just killed the Pirates for like the 15th straight time. So I would see Leland on those Cardinal games. Leland just got inducted into the Irish Hall of Fame. So Leland, I would see him because he was the talent scout, and he would go to the games. He would scout the Pirates. And then when St. Louis came to town, I mean, he'd call them and all that, but he'd meet with the organization when they played in Pittsburgh, and everybody would meet together, and him and La Russa would meet and all that stuff. But he'd eat the media buffet, and he was quiet. He was very quiet, and he really didn't talk to anybody. And it was one of those things where Leland, Jim Leland sat at her table. This is like Mike Tomlin for the Steelers. Leland sat at her table because, he didn't feel he belonged anywhere else. He wasn't sociable. He wasn't a social butterfly at all. He was a very big introvert. You'd have a media buffet room, and every, tables would be there, and it's almost like, I swear to you, he's a nice guy. Believe me, he's a great guy. He gets into things, and he'll swear and all that, like normal people. But when he would come in, he would almost look like a middle school kid not knowing where to sit at lunch. Like, he would come in, he'd pay the $6. My year was the first year they freaking charged, and I was an intern. I had no money. But he'd walk around, he'd get the buffet, he'd walk back with his plate, and he'd stop, and he'd look. And there was Chuck Tanner, so he sat next to Chuck Tanner. He sat next to him, and I thought he was very, very quiet. I only talked to him, said really about 3 sentences to him. He was quiet. He listened. Like, he actually listened to stories that I said, and I only told like 1 or 2, because what the hell am I going to say when you're sitting in a room like that? I'm an intern. What am I going to add? Like, seriously, what am I going to add? You have people that played in World Series, managed World Series, the biggest thing in the world, and all I could add is taking a bus from downtown Pittsburgh, the 1D Mount Royal, to my aunt's house, which they found fascinating. They said, how do you get home at night? They go, do you drive here? I go, no, I take the bus back at midnight. I stay for the news and all that. So I used to watch Ken Rice, KDK. I think he's still there. And then after the 11 o'clock news, I used to walk across Pittsburgh and go to the 1D Mount Royal and then go from there. But yeah, I remember that. That was very interesting. He was good, but he never bragged about it. That's what I liked about Leland. It was. There were some announcers. I'll be honest with you, most of the announcers were very full of themselves people. Very, very full of themselves people. Like, I didn't know anybody. I remember Moneyball came in with, I always wanted to see Art Howe. I liked Art Howe. Art Howe was a nice guy. At that time, this was 2002, the summer of 2002. And Moneyball guy, yeah, Art Howe, he came in. He's a Shaler grad. And I said, hey, do you remember Charlotte Love? And my mom's maiden name. And he's like, hey, well, yeah, blah, 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 like this. He's like, she drew art, didn't she? I said, yeah, she drew art. So he remembered that. I'm like, oh, my God. And right there, Shaler was big, but it was 200 people, 230 or whatever. It wasn't massive because they were still the Huskies back then. So it wasn't massive like in the 70s when they added some things before they broke off and all that. It was before they added Etna High School. So Etna had their own different high schools. So they were still kind of small out in back then in Pittsburgh, nothing. So I saw Art Howe, and after the game, me and him, he was meeting some Shaler buddies. He was a class of, I believe, 1965 from Shaler. He was Mom's class. So he was meeting Shaler buddies. We talked all the time. He's like, yeah, we're the Huskies. They're the Titans now, but they were the Huskies back then. And he talked a little bit. He was 55. My God, he looked 80. He looked 85. He was missing teeth. You could smell the chewing tobacco on him the whole time. You could tell he was a heavy drinker and smoke. Oh, my God. He said that's the one part of Moneyball that they got wrong is they made Art Howe look too good. He was an awesome guy, and I was kind of ticked off at the way they made him seem like a villain. He wasn't that way. If anything, when I talked to him, because they played a 3-game series, I remember just who he was. He was a typical Western Pennsylvania kind of curious and everything. He's not. That pissed me off the way in Moneyball he was portrayed because it made us look like assholes. It really did. The people in Pittsburgh, because people in Pittsburgh, we don't, and this is true with head coaches from Ohio and Pittsburgh and all that stuff. If we get a head coaching job somewhere and we disagree with philosophy, you quit. You quit. You just quit. He stayed on because he believed in it. And that's what we knew. And going through it, they didn't call it Moneyball back then. And when they were going through it, and no Moneyball or anything like that. But he was a good guy, a very good, solid guy. I didn't really see him interact with any of the players or whatever. I held microphones in front of people's faces and went back, and they cut different things. And then later on in the summer, I got better at, yeah, this guy did this. And oh, Lloyd McClendon hated me. Lloyd McClendon literally personally hated me. And he probably personally hates me today because I used to go in there. I didn't know. I was a friggin' hothead. I used to he's like, when the Pirates are losing, man, I unloaded with questions when I shouldn't have, maybe. I should have been a little bit more reserved. And he hated me. And if he ever saw me today, he would probably recognize the voice and go, what the hell? I know you. He would probably say that because there was one time when he got real mad at me during my internship. I said it was Brian Bowringer, and they had Bowringer pitch to walk intentionally, a 130 guy, to get to a guy that was 3 for 3 and had a home run on the day. And the guy hit a freaking home run. And the 100 hitter standing on first, and the Pirates lost to the Reds by 1. I remember it was against the Reds. Well, Bowringer was pissed, and when he went back, he was a hothead anyway. He wouldn't talk to anybody in the locker room. He was pissed. He told all the journalists, get the blank away from me, blank, blank, blank. And anyway, so I go in, and we all went down. Robert Dvorak was a journalist for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and he was the first American journalist in Desert Storm. He dated Nancy Sinatra. This is Robert Dvorak. So whenever he wrote sports, he's like, this is candy. He's like, this is freaking candy. He covered the Gulf War, the first one. He was the first American in Iraq as a journalist for the Gulf War, even before the CNN guys, right when it was Desert Shield, before Desert Storm. He dated Nancy Sinatra. He told our journalism class about Nancy Sinatra. He was in there, and I remember him. He was in that room with the Clev. And when I asked him about that, I go, what was the reason for, like this? I asked him literally, I go, what is the reason for walking that 130 hitter to get to the guy who hit the home runs? And I remember McClendon looking at me with a gaze of death, going, the reason is we wanted to win. And I looked over. I remember Dvorak was in there, and he was like trying not to laugh. That's the one thing about Lloyd McClendon is people thought Lloyd McClendon, it was he knew what he had. He knew he wasn't going anywhere. He would throw his hands up and go, oh, what do you expect? No, Lloyd McClendon was a jerk. He was a real jerk, and Detroit found that out, and Seattle found that out. And he was an absolute jerk. You hired Lloyd McClendon as a scapegoat. Whenever you had teams that you know weren't going to win, you hired McClendon, and McClendon was the guy that would get beat up. He was happy to get a manager job. He was off. I don't know if he was awful or not. I'm not going to be that dumb to say whether he was good or not, because they're going to say, what do you have done differently? But they always hired him for teams that they knew couldn't win. And he was a jerk. He was a jerk. And I know he hit 6 home runs in his first 6 Little League at-bats in the Little League World Series in the, I think it was the 70s. He holds that record. He went 6 for his first 6 with 6 home runs. He is. He was angry and sullen. And that's the one thing. Everybody threw their hands up and they said, he's okay. He's just blah, 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 throwing his hands up. No, he wasn't. He absolutely was not. He was one of those people that it got to him. I don't know why. He never had any interaction with his players. Jason Kendall, I remember, hated everybody in the Pirate locker room. Jason Kendall hated the Pirates. He hated McClendon. He hated everybody. He hated the media. He hated everybody. I never talked to Jason Kendall. Jason Kendall just never did anything. Pokey Reese was different. Pokey Reese was a jerk. He just, with the media, he would say, hey, wait here 5 minutes for an interview. It'd be an hour later, and he'd never show up. I'm like, just freaking tell us you don't want to, great class acts were Sammy Sosa. I remember in 2002, I held a microphone in front of Sammy Sosa, and he had no pants on. And I remember thinking, wow, if I go to the camera guy and tip this thing down, we're going to have some film that's going to be worth millions and later on in life. I remember that. And Alex Rodriguez for the Texas Rangers. No, I didn't. I never met Andy Van Slyke. Van Slyke at the time wasn't in Pittsburgh. I don't know where he was. He was all right in Pittsburgh, but after his Pittsburgh days, he never really hung around. Even at KDK, he wasn't around, so I'm not sure where he was at. I heard stories about Van Slyke, some good, some bad. Everybody hated Bonds. Barry Bonds was the guy that would sign his autograph on the what do you call that? The stitches of a baseball. But Van Slyke, I never met. I never even really heard a lot of stories about. I never really did. I remember, though, it was like Pokey Reese. He was kind of a jerk. I remember Jason Kendall was the big one. Legend Sports Universe, good to see you. Good to see you. I'm just ranting now. I'm ranting and raving. I've been on for the last 20 minutes just ranting and raving about old stories. But I remember Jason Kendall was absolutely to himself. And I remember, I think they traded him that year to Oakland. That was weird. He went to Oakland, I believe, after the Pirates. But Kendall was just absolutely, he wasn't. He hated everything about. Now, the thing was this. I met McClatchy a few times. The thing about McClatchy that people don't understand is when he bought the Pirates, Kevin McClatchy had more money in his pocket than George Steinbrenner. He was a cable guy. He owned all of Cox Cable. I believe it was Cox and Comcast. He merged them, and he owned them all. He was almost twice as rich as Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner owned shipping in Cleveland. But I remember the biggest thing, McClatchy, and I remember how stale he was because I got to see him before the interview, after the interviews, and stuff like that. That guy was not a baseball owner. That guy was somebody who liked baseball, who didn't have a vision, who didn't know, who ran it like a profit sort of thing. He could have made the Pirates into a very national brand and could have made the Pirates into something really good. He could have paid for a lot of players like Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner, the reason why the Yankees haven't won since Steinbrenner went into his own pocket, and he paid for Yankees, but he paid for them himself. So if they didn't pan out, the Yankees weren't hurt financially. This was his fun money. He was that rich. Like, people don't understand the richest people in the world own shipping lines. Richest people, there are people in international schools. I know somebody in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. It's in Dar es Salaam, there's an international school. It's a very good one. We have one of our people going there. One of the kids there for his 16th birthday got a shipping line. And if you don't know, shipping lines are something that don't go away. COVID will never affect them because they're freaking shipping lines. And it's only wars would get rid of them. So whenever, the Pirates could spend like us, they just don't. That's exactly right. So whenever you have shipping lines, so this one kid got his own shipping line, that at least is about, that kid in a very small shipping line was gifted $35 million a year. $35 million a year for being gifted a very small shipping line from on his 16th birthday. Now, he goes into a school. The good thing I like about our school is we're ourselves. You know, I got to be professional. I can't say stuff, but, we're ourselves. And, I get them, I'm elementary school, so we get them earlier enough. So it's like, hey, guess what? We have rich people. But that's the thing with Steinbrenner, how rich he was. He had a big shipping line. Now imagine all the money, and imagine the Cleveland Indians turning him down. Remember, Cleveland, he went to buy the Cleveland Indians in the 70s, and they said, nope, you're not having anything. And so that's the thing is Steinbrenner was that rich, and McClatchy was even richer because nobody's going to stop watching TV. People don't understand the number one communicative medium in the United States and in the world is radio. Still number one by far. And the reason is you can do other things and listen. And on the internet, anything like radio is very good. So like podcasts, what I'm doing now, look, it's been the same freaking thing, but you're just listening. People, so radio is the number one medium. TV is never going to go away. Even, we're going to stream. All streaming is a different television channel. That's all it is. You get to go on there and you watch. Now you can pick your camera angles in about 10 years. You'll watch it on a big computer screen. No, you freaking won't. Nobody is going to go into a damn bar and then all of a sudden have 90 different angles. No, you put it on one angle, you put it on TV, and everybody in the bar is going to get together and watch a championship game together. So that will never go away. So McClatchy will always have been rich. None of this, newspapers are a different story because newspapers are a medium you can get for free now. I could go online and just freaking, instead of buying a newspaper for $1 and reading crap, I can just go online and get it for free. Now, why in the hell do I want to go somewhere and get a newspaper for $1? when I could just go home and see it for free. The only reason is local sports. And now the newspapers are shutting down local sports. Like, the only reason I would read the Butler Eagle in Butler is I want to see the Legion scores. I want to see local sports. That's the only way I can read and know what happens. There are no websites for local sports. If you want to be rich, make a national network called Local Sports and just have people post it. And then all of a sudden, if you create a national website called localsports.com and have everybody posting to their scores, you could sell ads, and people, that'll take the place of all the newspapers. They will, because what'll happen is the local sports, people will go there. All I give a shit. Look, sorry about the language here, but I'm in my mode. I don't care. I still got I know it's 9:33 here. I try and get to bed by 10 because driving here is insane. So I love to get there early when nobody's on the road. And still wreck into the white lines the way they act here. The lines in the road are dangerous here. I'll explain it to you if I ever meet you in person, which I do, either one of you, Beatles or Legends. That's my goal. I want to meet you this next summer coming up, both of you, because you're both great, But anyways, that's the one thing is, I forget where I was going with this. I do all the time. Oh, the local sport. The only thing I care about is when I look at home, there's one called Trib Live, but it's online. It's for free. And I will look at the local high school football scores, the standings, the local high school sports. I want to see how Knock High School is. I want to see how their football, basketball, even, how it is. But still, I want to see how they're doing. It's the local. It's where I graduated. I want to see how it's happening. And I want to watch Trib Live has some great, they still do high school games. That's great. I'll go to there. Now, Butler Eagle used to have one of the best high school football previews in Western Pennsylvania. It used to be Butler County teams. It used to be 10 teams. Montauk, Karn City, Butler, Knock, Seneca Valley, Mars, North Catholic, now North Catholic, Freeport, they did Freeport, and there are two more I'm missing. AC Valley, and back AC Valley, I said Karn City, Montauk, and Union. There's 10. But they used to be all of them, and I loved it when I was a kid. I used to get it, and it was about 100 pages, and it was about 10 to every team. It had all the schedules, it had everything, and it was really cool. So I used to go home and I used to, get it in the paper, and okay. And even when I was in college, I used to, when I was an equipment guy at the University of Pittsburgh, this is true. When I was an equipment guy at the University of Pittsburgh, the other managers would laugh at me because I'd bring in this Butler County thing, and there are these kids that are just going to play high school, and that's it. Single A, District 9 football, whatever. And I'd read it, and there were some players that really respected the fact that I still loved high school because they loved it. Lou Polite was a Woodland Hills guy, and he did that. He's like, hey, anything about Woodland Hills? I said, well, they play Butler. They're going to kill them. Yeah. And then, Kevin Barlow was a City League guy. He went to Peabody, so he loved it. And there were other people. There were a couple other people from the Whippeal in there, and they liked the fact that Butler County thing. But that's the thing. We had that local newspaper. That local paper was local sports. And now with everybody selling out their sports to national brands, why in the hell am I going to buy a local newspaper when I could go to MLB.com and get the same information? The only thing I can think of now that I would want in my hands is that college F-ball or football review. The one guy puts it out every year. It's all 130 teams, glossy photos, everything like that. See, I would like that because I couldn't look up 130 pages online. But now all the people are like, oh, well, I'm just going to, we'll make it national. Well, you're an idiot if you make it national. I'm sorry. If I got 3 people listening, I know Legends, Beatles, and we got a mystery person, probably some Russian blogger or something like that going, what the hell is a knock high school, But still, I would say that, honestly, the people that do that are idiots because they just don't know. They just want something to throw into sports. What they're doing is they're making a cake with icing. And they don't care about how the meat and potatoes of the cake. So the problem is that they have thrown away why people buy local newspapers. It's for local stories. 90% of local stories are sports stories. So today I looked at when Beatles Eternally did that on his channel, and if you're listening, go to Beatles Eternally. He played one of my favorite games of all time, old-time baseball. And what I did right after then is I went to 1917, and I went to Google Newspapers. You can go to Google Newspapers. And I started going to the 1900s sports sections, like before the Titanic. And there was about 3 pages all of local baseball leagues. I think like the Lawyers beat the Grossmen. The Police beat, I forget, but they all had different occupations, were different teams. And I was reading it, and it's Google Newspapers. And it's called, it's not the Butler Eagle, it's the Butler Times. And you go to like 1907, 1908, and you go to that, and it's all local sports. And it is freaking awesome. I love reading it because it's local. And they have train times in there. It's like a section of history. And what's happening now is the papers today are saying, screw the history, we're just going to go national. Basically, the conglomerates are saying, you know what? Local's dead. We're just going to make everybody go national. Well, the stupidity thing is somebody's going to get smart. And what somebody's going to do is they're going to start their own chain of local newspapers. And they're going to say the only thing we're going to do are local stories, no national. We don't care if Pittsburgh's hit with an atomic weapon. If you're in Nebraska, it's all going to be local to your town. That's it. No national. And there's going to be no competitors left. And people are going to be like, hey, our papers are gone. But this new one talks about somebody's house burned down. Something happened. Look, local high school football. This, that. They love it. And people are going to go and they're going to get that. And they're going to, as long as it stays local, people will go there. But I got out of it. McClatchy, getting back to the McClatchy story, he had more money than Scrooge McDuck. And I remember after the interview with Staggerwald, we went there, and it was PNC Park. It was the second year it was built. We go to his office in PNC Park. We went up there. We set up the lighting. The one camera guy had messed up the lighting before, and McClatchy looked like a translucent ghost from a 1960s cartoon. And McClatchy was pissed. But when rich people get pissed, they never get pissed. They tell their associates they're pissed. And the associates make it seem like they're angry. So what happened was we go up there, and I remember the camera guy. And I remember us sitting down and an associate going to the camera guy. And he goes like this. He goes, now, the last time I watched an interview, I saw Mr. McClatchy. He was glowing very white. Is it possible to make sure that Mr. McClatchy does not glow very white here? He was very bright in the last episode, and he didn't look good, like that. Now, that assistant ain't going to say one thing that McClatchy didn't say. McClatchy probably looked at an interview and probably said, blah, 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 like that. So it was the assistant's job to go over and make it seem like that's why so many, Waylon Smithers in The Simpsons is one of the best characters of all time. Hold on, let me get some water, and I'll tell you why. The notion of Waylon Smithers is genius. Freaking genius. Absolute genius. Whenever you see Waylon Smithers, he gets mad when Mr. Burns gets mad. And then you see him when Mr. Burns is not around. And he's totally different. That's the way assistants are. If you're dealing with rich people, they are the rich person. But the plebeians, us, look at that person and they say, oh, well, this guy's an asshole. This guy's blah, 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 blah. In reality, it's actually the guy, but they don't want to put their name behind it. They want to be the nice guy. Hey, how you doing? And then the assistant guy's like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Look at him. No, it's the other way around. Those assistants are usually good people. They're just trying to make a buck. They're making a lot of bucks, but they're there to get punched right in the face. That's their thing. They're there to get punched in the face. So this guy was punched in the face. And afterwards, that was my introduction to how rich people work. They talked to Staggerwald. They got him a little red face. They talked to, this was John Staggerwald, not Paul that did Penguins, but John. Then they talked to the camera guy, and he was about as dark as this gray background here. And the next thing, it looked like at night. No, it was good, but they did the interview, and they talked, and I remember it was all two-faced. That was one of the reasons why I got out of it. Because Staggerwald and McClatchy are like, all right, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden we go out, and Staggerwald's like, yeah, we're not going to win until blah, 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 blah. And this was supposed to be a hard-hitting interview. And right before it, he's like, all right, well, McClatchy, we got to ask you about these few questions. All right, so we're going to bring this up. I'm just letting you know now, this is what the interview's for. And he's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, there are a few of these I have to answer. I'm going to answer to the public, blah, 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 blah. Said that. Then the lights went on. Then all of a sudden, it went from normal conversation to, I remember John Staggerwald always start every interview with, before every question. Because they edited it out. It wasn't live. They edited it out. So it's like, hey, how you doing? We're going to ask you about this. Yeah. Oh, they talked a little bit. Hey, we're going out here or there. All right. And then all of a sudden it's, so the Pirates, when they're near another trade deadline, are you looking to spend this year? You haven't been spending in the past. Well, John, we got a blah, 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 long-term, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, dear Jesus Christ. Wait, he doesn't give a shit. So I'm like, I'm a kid. I'm from a hick town. So all of a sudden, this and like, I was equipment guy for Pitt, but now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, but anyway, so once that got off of me, I'm like, oh, all right. Oh, this guy's this guy's weird. I just remembered he was weird. And then combined with McClendon, I'm like, oh, he just doesn't care. I'm like, that's bad. He gets people in there not to rock the boat because he doesn't believe they can win. He probably looks at that. He looked at the Pirates with a brand new stadium, and he probably thought, we can get an average baseball team in a bad division, and we don't have to do anything but be an average baseball team in a bad division. We'll be competitive every year. And then in the playoffs, in a 7-game series, anybody can do whatever. All you got to do is just win that terrible Central Division. And then St. Louis got friggin' hot because they were awful in the early 2000s like they are now. Then they got hot, And then all of a sudden, this was before they really got hot. And I remember thinking to myself in 03 and 04, this guy doesn't care. Because if he cared, he would have got Lou Piniella. And Lou Piniella would have came in and made the Pirates good. He would have exactly what they needed. And he would have got Lou Piniella would have really been, and they had 2 times to get Lou Piniella. The first was when they fired Gene Lamont, and the second time was when they got rid of McClendon. Lou Piniella was not picked, and this is summation, because I got to drink water. He would have rocked the boat. Lou Piniella knew what had to be done. He's a winner. He won with Cincinnati, won a World Series. He won with Seattle, almost took him to a World Series. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Mark Cuban had the money and the interest. I'm not saying he didn't. But I think there's so much more to it. I met Mark Cuban at the Summer League. That doesn't make me know Mark Cuban. I have no idea. None. Zero. But in basketball, he has such a team around him that he is able to be way more on the marketing side, which is his expertise. Mark Cuban, Mount Lebanon. Mark Cuban from Mount Lebanon in Pittsburgh. He is able, the reason why he's so successful in the NBA basketball is because he is able to focus on the marketing side. Now, if he would have bought the Bucks, he would have had to have really more of a baseball vision. He would have to control minor leagues. He would have to control minor league staff. He would have to control marketing as well. He would have to control player movement. The NBA, he won a championship, but his genius was the marketing of the team. He took the Dallas Mavericks from absolute crap. I remember when they had friggin' Mike Isolino and all that playing, and it was like, oh, God. On NBA Jam, they were the worst team. Remember on NBA Jam, whenever you played the worst team your first game, and it was the Dallas Mavericks, The Boston Celtics versus Mavericks, They had that. And Mike Isolino, who coaches at Robert Morris now, Isolino coaches at Robert Morris. The guy, Isolino, it's a brick. He's on fire, But that's the thing with Mark Cuban is I think it would have been great for marketing, but then there would have been times. See, in the NBA, if you have Dirk Nowitzki, Dirk is going to be really, really good for years. And there's a salary cap, so you can keep your legends. So you can keep them and market them. What he did, his genius wasn't making the Mavericks winners. It was hiring the people and overseeing the people that ran a consistent philosophy. His genius was the ability to build the Mavericks up from zero, and make them one of the most popular teams in Dallas. They're more loved than the Cowboys. Like the Cowboys people love because of its football, but people don't like Jerry Jones. People hate Jerry Jones. But they like Mark Cuban because Mark Cuban would go to games and he would sit in the cheap seats with the fans. He would buy entire rows, all these hot dogs and beer. He'd go, yeah, I'm buying beer for everybody. I'm buying hot dogs for everybody. He'd do that because he was that kind of a marketing genius. He sat out there. So now everybody's interested in the Mavericks. He let the people do their jobs. Okay, yeah, it has been a train wreck. I'll agree with you there. I think Cuban would have been good. I'm curious to see. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he would have, because baseball, here's the sad part about baseball. Organizations are so big in baseball, I've seen visionaries killed. I've seen visionaries killed because they go in. It's like being a principal of a school when you're on a baseball team. When you're on a baseball team, like when you're a principal of a school, you don't get to own the school. You don't get to control the school. You don't get, like, you go in and you want change, even though you're an owner or a principal, once principal. But then you find out really quickly there are forces at work that when you try and do change, there's backstabbing, there's people you need to rely on, there's, in basketball, in football, to a degree, hockey and baseball are the ones where a visionary goes in. Yeah, how about how O'Malley treated Branch Rickey? You're right. You're absolutely right. You can go in and you can be a visionary and go, look, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to buy the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you know what? We're going to have a philosophy, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to go forward, and we're going to spend money. Well, number one, you're looking right now at both New York teams. Spending money equals 2 losing records. So they don't have philosophies. The Mets don't have a philosophy. The Yankees don't have a philosophy. The Yankees have the best team, have the best players money can buy, but they don't have a team and they don't have a philosophy. They have the best money that the best players money can buy, but they don't have a team. There's no systemic way. I mean, it's like in basketball. What the Yankees have now is if a basketball team bought the New York Mets, what the New York Mets have now is if a basketball team bought the 5 best centers in history. If all of a sudden somebody went out and the Mets go, we're going to get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Moses Malone, well, I'm not saying Manute Bol, because, you know, Manute Bol had to drink so much beer to gain weight that he played every NBA game drunk. Every NBA game drunk. But we're going to take Manute Bol and we're going to take Hakeem Olajuwon and throw him on the court. Well, yeah, on paper, you're like, holy Jesus, nobody's going to stop him. But then when you go to a team, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, teams just do A, B, and C against them. You just do this and this. It's hard to win with 5 centers on the court because they can't move, they can't do certain things. And that's what I believe the Mets and the Yankees have. I'm not good enough in baseball to be able to tell you what exactly that is. But I believe if the Pirates, Pirates get money infused in them, there's no reason to say they wouldn't be like the New York Mets. I think the one thing, Beatles, that you are right is Cuban would have came in and said, I want to do this, this, and this. Yeah. He could say this, this, and this, but you remember about 10 years ago, the Altoona Curve were the only Pirates team in the organization that had a winning record, and they won the Double-A World Series, the Altoona Curve. They win the Double-A World Series, and they fired their manager. It was the only Pirates manager that got fired that year out of the major league and all the minor leagues. Was the guy that won a championship because he went rogue. He did whatever he wanted. And he said, hey, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, blah, 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 blah. Look, I win, and I'm not going to change. And they say, you're fired. Boy, did that look bad. Boy, did that look freaking horrible. That was absolutely garbage when that happens. Yeah, it was like, oh, my God, they fired the guy who won the championship. And that looked really bad. But that comes from an organization with no vision. And it comes from a toxic thing. When you're a principal at international schools, and it's the same thing with baseball. I'm not a principal, but hold on a second. When you're a principal, you come in saying, well, if I just did the school, I would blah, 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 blah. And then you realize a couple things. Number one, getting talent is difficult for a school. Getting talent is difficult. Number two, when you hire talent, you have to hire on the school culture talent. Because if you hire talent that's not in the school culture talent, then what happens is their talent you hired will never come through. It'll never come through. So if you get a math teacher for elementary that's really good at A, B, and C, and you never use A, B, and C in your curriculum, they're worthless. Why the hell did you hire them? They're talented, yes, but they never get to use their talent. Same thing. But three, whenever there's a blow up and some of you don't get your way, you can't just discipline or fire somebody. If you do that, the people that are your allies will all of a sudden leave you. And it's the same way with good talent in the Pirates. They'll demand trades. They'll do this. The front office people will get sucked up by other people. That's the thing. There's so many forces that go into an absolute losing culture that what you need to do is you need to get somebody in that'll bring in 10 to 15 people. You need that 10 to 15. You need somebody who maybe is disgruntled at like the current Yankees who built World Series champions in 07, 08. Look at the great ones in history. All right, look at the great ones in history. All right. Who built the 1984 Padres? A team that was crap 5 years before. Who built them? Somebody? Anybody? Who built the 1984 Padres? And then he died before he saw them in the World Series. It was Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. Now, who was the manager of those Padres? It was Dick Williams, the A's guy that won 2 World Series for the A's, 72-73, Alvin Dark 174. You see, when Ray Kroc came in, he brought into the Padres a whole bunch of people, and even people we never heard of. And he brought in about 8 to 9 people. And he brought in a whole system so that any jerk that was immediately outnumbered 7-1, 8-1. He brought in people from the business world, the marketing world. He brought in baseball experts. He brought in the best scouts. The guy that owns a banana farm. I was told never to tell that on the air, but the guy I met when I was an equipment guy for Pitt Baseball. I did football in the fall, baseball in the spring. And this guy owned a banana farm. He was a Philly scout, and he scouted Mike Schmidt. And he's sitting there scouting a couple players. It was Pitt Notre Dame at Pitt. And I sat and I talked to him. I forget his freaking name. But he told me about the 20 to 80 system of scouting, how it's actually 0 to 100. Nobody ever gets a 0. Nobody ever gets a 100. It's always 20 to 80. And he's the guy that invented it. And he did Mike Schmidt. I go, what was Mike Schmidt? And he goes, he was a high 60. And I go, what would Babe Ruth be? And he goes, sober. But anyways, so I went there and I'm talking to them, but he was a guy that was brought into the Philadelphia Phillies. He was bounced around for a little bit, but he was brought into the Phillies and he stayed there for a while, but because he was a top scout, because he fit into the system. He wasn't a top scout because he got lucky a few times. He was a top scout because he was able to deliver what you wanted in the system. And he was really good for the Phillies. He owned banana farms in South America. I was told never to say that. There, you get something I was told never to say. Yeah, he invented it. Beatles eternally. This guy invented it. The guy invented it. Like, he's the one. And he worked for the Phillies, and he scouted Mike Schmidt. So I'm like, oh, my God. And then there was a guy for the Cardinals who looked like Bernie Kosar. Exactly like Bernie Kosar. His name was Greg, and I forget his last name. But we talked a little bit too, but he was with the Cardinals at the very beginning of their run. And he knew something special was going to happen because he started saying, we're all on board. And then what was it? Now all of a sudden 5-6 years later, which was the developmental of Major League, you get drafted. It takes you 5 years before you get into Major Leagues. extremely rarely do you draft a guy and all of a sudden freaking a 17-year-old hits like 10 home runs. If you're not a San Diego Padre, that happens. So anyway, this guy came in, but the thing was, when they brought Leland in, they had Leland as a talent scout. Think about this. Leland was a talent scout. He went to Pirate games and just told the St. Louis Cardinals about the players the Pirates had. Now think about all the players the Pirates had, and think about all the people that St. Louis beat in the World Series and played in the World Series and almost beat. Now all of a sudden you're making a freaking connection. You're all of a sudden getting scouting reports on people when they were the Pirates, Pokey Reese for the Red Sox, and now all of a sudden you're seeing Garrett Cole later on. Well, I think that's a little too late. But take a look at all those Pirates that went on and played on teams that St. Louis played in the World Series or that Detroit picked up a little bit later when they had their runs with Leland. There's a reason why Leland is always on winning teams. It's because they're part of the culture. And he starts a culture. And then everybody else jumps in on the culture. But you got to get like-minded people. The reason why cultures need to be in baseball more than one man, because in basketball they can be one. But in baseball, you need 10 to 20 high-up people all thinking the same when it comes to gray areas without talking to each other for every decision. They need people all in all thinking alike in the gray areas where they have to make decisions instantly on second and third stringers that they're not going to call and have huge meetings of 20 or 30 people every day. They need people to do that and all be one mind at the same time without anybody deviating or screwing up. And you can see, like right now, I'm mad at the Baltimore Orioles, but they got, except for Angelos, it looks like he's keeping his paws off, except for frickin' the announcer. That was a goddamn tragedy. You know, that was bullshit what happened to that guy. He reads a thing and the guy gets there's got to be more. There's got to be more to that. There's got to be more to that. It's just not some guy saying that Law didn't win. It's 0-15-1 in series. Nobody cares. It makes you look good. When you say we were 0-15-1 in series and you start winning, it makes you look good. Nobody cares about your past. They care about your future. So now all of a sudden, 0-15-1 in series, we won our last 2 series, more games, blah, blah, blah. People come to the ballpark. They want to see that. You get people. Shitty past, great future. We buy tickets. There's more to that. There's way more to that story. So him just saying, I didn't like what you said, there's more to that. You're dealing with a hothead. The announcer's very good. He's 20-some years old. He's a hothead. I was a hothead. I guarantee you, anybody listening to this is a hothead too when you're 20, 30 years old. And you're really good at what you do. When you're really good at what you do and you're 20 years old, you're an idiot. You're a goddamn hothead. Now, I like working with hotheads. I don't care whether you're in teaching, being a principal. I don't care what you are. When you're 20 or 30 years old and you're good and you know you're good, look at the supermodels. You know why supermodels cannot hold a husband? It's because they're hot and they know it. So it's called the Troxler effect. When you look at something enough times, it becomes ugly. So what happens, not ugly, but it loses its beauty. Beauty is the deviance from normal. It's a deviance from normalcy. So whenever you wonder why, like somebody like Bill Clinton, who's the president, and all of a sudden he gets involved with these people, and you're like, really? It's the deviants. Now all of a sudden you got people that are interns right off the homestead, innocent, looking like the girl next door. Boom. That's different from the fake, plastic, corporate people, rich people get. The reason why supermodels can't get husbands like Giselle and Tom Brady break up is because once the looks go away, what do you have next? Once Tom Brady is out of football, what do you have? What's there? Once the looks are away from Giselle and you deal with a person, what do you have? What do you have? So it's the same way with a hothead, any hothead, man or woman. When you're 20 and you're 30, you're good and you know it, you're a friggin' hothead. And you need a hothead to deal with a damn hothead. Because a hothead is like, it's my way, and I got money and people to back me. And Angelo says, I own the frickin' team. He's going to say, what are you going to do to me? Angelos goes, watch this. 7-day suspension. He goes, fans will kill you. Angelos looks at the guy and goes, they're going to forget. We win the World Series this year. No one's going to remember a damn thing. But I'm not going to make it a distraction now. Angelos is thinking of the future. Because you can't take a hothead. You got to, and this is why it takes a little more than Cuban. This is my only thing. Angelos knows that when you deal with a good hothead, you don't come out and you don't swear and you don't throw the guy under the bus. You do a soft suspension. You unannounce it. You never go public, and you give a warning to the guy. Because here's the thing, the guy might not follow the warning. When you deal with a hothead, you can't expect them to follow the warning. Brian Clough. You want to know about hotheads? Friggin' Brian Clough. The best manager in the history of football. Soccer. Best. 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 Derby County. Bottom of the second division. Bottom. He gets there. Within 4 years, they make the semifinals of the European frickin' Cup. Derby County, it's the size of Milwaukee. Less. Derby County is the size of, it would be Green Bay. Actual Green Bay. So what do I mean by that? It's Derby County, Green Bay, okay? Imagine Green Bay going to New York City, and there's no salary cap, and they beat New York at football, and there's no salary cap. He was great. So in 4 years, got him promoted to the first division, won the English League One before they called it the Premier League. It was the best league in England. They won that. Now, all of a sudden, he goes to Sam Longson, and he gets in a big sort of tiff with the owner, Sam Longson. This is Brian Clough, the only reason why Derby County's on the map is because of me, Brian Clough. And they get in a big argument. Longson goes, you're the friggin' manager. We don't need you. And Clough goes, the only reason why you're even here building this stuff is because of me. So Clough goes, I'm just going to scare him and resign. Sam Longson accepted. Fuck. That was one of the biggest egos. Longson's the owner. He's Angelos. Longson is Angelos. My team. You got to know your place. The announcer, Kevin Brown, is Brian Clough. Hothead. 30 years old, best in the business. He's going to be around another 50 years. He's going to retire. He could retire in 20 years, never work again. He retire in 10 years. He's going to be doing World Series nationally. Give it 10, 15 years. He's going to be making hundreds of millions of dollars an announcer. He knows it. He knows it. He doesn't need local. He kind of does. That's a problem. So now you got two hotheads. You got Angelos, who's Sam Longson, and you got Brian Clough, who is Kevin Brown. They butt heads, and guess what? Now, Sam Longson didn't say, I'm going to suspend you to Brian Clough. He just outright said, yeah, I accept your resignation. We got the players. Screw you. And Clough was in absolute shock, and he spent his life he spent his life just absolutely freaked out. Well, what happened was he spent the next 4 years trying to put his life together, because what happened after that was he got beat, and then all of a sudden they accepted it, and he's like, what the hell? Now, Derby County was good for another 3-4 years, but then they fell to nothing. And they had a little bit of dabblings with the League One and Premier Leagues. But what Brian Clough did is what he got his ass kicked. He did. And he realized, okay, I'm a hothead. But then he became older, and he realized, all right, whatever. So at Nottingham 4, he went to Leeds. Okay, you want to talk about freaking hotheads? Leeds was the best of the best. They were dirty as hell. Revy was dirty. They were dirty. They were all dirty. Leeds, they won, but they were freaking. I know Billy Bremner, bite your legs, Hunter. All right. I have respect for Leeds. They're tough sons of bitches. They were. They were Irish. They were tough. They're from the streets. They played street soccer without fouls, spikes into ankles. Hurts. You ever take a spike to the ankle? Take a spike to the ankle. Go ahead. Get somebody with spikes on and just have them go right into your ankles. And then realize that's what Leeds did. They were tough SOBs. Tough. Well, Brian Clough, all of a sudden, he thought, oh, I'm such a hothead, Derby County. I'll go to Leeds. And look at that. He lasted 44 days at Leeds. Hotheads meeting hotheads. It didn't work. No philosophy. Leeds culture at the time, it's never been the same. They let Revy go. Revy was the manager for England. Revy didn't know how to be a manager, and then he ended up in the United Arab Emirates. And that's the thing that ultimately actually killed him. Revy died in 88. I wish I would have met him. I don't hate the guy. I don't disrespect the guy. He was just the bad boys. He was Chuck Daly. Chuck Daly couldn't coach anywhere else. Chuck Daly tried to coach for the Orlando Magic. He couldn't because that wasn't his team. The culture's different. Everything's different. Chuck Daly was a relic of his time. Chuck Daly knew how to manage egos. He was ahead of his time. But Chuck Daly was the bad boys, okay? So then what happened was Brian Clough, after getting from Leeds, nobody wanted to touch him. And then Nottingham Forest, he was way more down low when he was talked to Nottingham Forest. Way, way more down low. This guy, he's like, look, this is what I'm going to do. They work together. And if you noticed, Nottingham, which is the size of Nottingham's the size of Lincoln, Nebraska, okay? Imagine Lincoln, Nebraska beating Barcelona, Juventus, Manchester United, Lincoln, Nebraska. That's exactly what happened. Because in 4.5 years, Brian Clough became the first English manager to win back-to-back European Cups. First English. Nottingham Forest, they beat Malmo 1-0, and they beat Bayern Munich 1-0. Back-to-back years. But it took him as a hothead. It also took him Peter Taylor. People forget he had the sidekick. And when he didn't have Peter Taylor, that system wasn't there. It was just old Big Head. And he's like Mark Cuban. He goes in and he would have a culture, but nobody would follow him because they don't know how to follow him. You got to bring people in that know how to follow you. If you bring people in that want to learn, that's one thing. You need a section for people that want to learn how to follow you. But on the other side, you need to bring people in also that know from day one how to follow you. Make those decisions. Peter Taylor was always there making the gray area decisions. He'd come into Brian Clough and go, yep, I found 3 players. And Brian Clough's like, all right. And he'd name them, and he goes, all right. and they would be great. Peter Taylor knew what Brian Clough wanted, and he knew how to fit it in a system, and he had his own things on how to scout. He was part of a system, and he made gray areas. That's the problem now with baseball is the fact that Moneyball didn't win because it was Moneyball. Moneyball won because, for a time, because it brought a system into a team that was fractured. It kind of gelled something. I don't even think Moneyball was 100% followed. When you start reading about it and what they had, there were mistakes in there. Yeah, Moneyball, it wasn't, I mean, people tried to emulate it and all that stuff. And did it work to a degree? Of course it worked to a degree. It's baseball, whatever. But it gelled. It brought people in. They had to bring people in to a system. And once they got into a system, people were making decisions on a gray area. So it was like psychics. So Beatles, if you're there and me and you think alike, there's some historical context on how to run a country and not leave a paper trail, but it's too controversial. I don't want to bring that up here about why certain people got away with stuff, didn't get away with stuff, because they hired people that would think like them. So they never had to give any bad orders. Because if me and you think alike, we're dead ball era people, okay? Let's say I'm a dead ball era, you're a dead ball era person, all right? Now, Beatles, if we're both dead ball era people, when we scout players, we look at people, we already got that philosophy. I don't need to call you to make a decision on a player. I just need to maybe find out about budgets. That's it. You don't need to call me to find out what pitchers or batters to hire. But in basketball, it's different. In basketball, what you're doing is you have a GM, and they have a philosophy, one GM. And that one GM, maybe Buss for the Lakers, Jerry West for the Lakers, has a philosophy in how to win. But in basketball, the players the Lakers got were already proven in certain statistics. That's why Mark Cuban can go and be a great showman, is because they're already proven players. It's just that Rick Fox, who was nothing, now all of a sudden marries Vanessa, whatever her face is. It was really hot. But now he plays for the Lakers, but he had that skill set that the Lakers needed. He'd come in sixth man. He'd be really good. You had Kobe and Shaq, but they were already proven. Kobe was the unproven one, but Shaq was great. They knew what they needed, two-man game. They brought in Phil Jackson to run a triangle offense because they knew from the Chicago Bulls you needed a Horace Grant, which was freaking Horace Grant. Same guy. But you had Robert Horry, that shooter that was just like Scottie Pippen. Robert Horry. You had a lot of people. You get it. I'm screwing up a little bit on people and whatever. But you get my idea. They needed that. So, anyways, I got to wrap this up a little bit. But you see, the hothead. So that's why they've got to have. There's something more that just happened. Something way more that happened in that Kevin Brown situation. Because when you go behind the scenes, nothing is black and white. I don't watch the news because I worked in the news 20 years ago as an intern, and I saw it's all crap. And I knew it back then. It's all crap. The stuff you see today is filtered and given to you in a way that is not happening. It's not happening. Always said this. If you want to know if news is real or not, what if they found a diffused nuclear weapon? Would they actually say it on TV? The answer is no. Because if somebody found a diffused, remember diffused means somebody lit the fuse and somebody had to pull the fuse out before it went off. Okay? So if they ever found a diffused nuclear weapon, they would not report it on TV because the panic would cost trillions with a T in damage. That's why that's the first thing we role played when I was in local news. First thing, I just sat back. I would ask sports people. I said, all right, they find a diffused nuclear weapon. Would we report it? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, we went. And I go, really? And we started throwing it around. And I remember it was Bob Pompiani in a room. It was Thor Tolo. It was Paul Alexander, and it was John Staggerwald. We were all there. And I'm like, I said, I don't think because of the panic, it would cost trillions of dollars in damage for panic. And it would cost a lot of people in power to lose their jobs. I said that pressure would come up from the top down, never to do that. And but that's the one thing. That's why I got out of news. That's why whenever somebody gets suspended like this, when they say, oh, it was for this and it's a stupid reason, the law of television says if it's a stupid reason, it's not the real freaking reason. There's a lot of power and money that go behind the scenes with hotheads. And whenever a Kevin Brown issue happens, it's not somebody bringing up a statistic. What that is a mutual agreement between two people that we had a big blow up, we had a big flare up, we had a power struggle, people were trying to one up each other, and you know what? We're calming down for 7 days. And it's a no blame thing. That's what happens. That's the way power works. I deal with power every day. I see behind the scenes here. I learned what the hell happens here. But now I'll never be stupid enough to comment on anything I hear because it could be taken the wrong way and stuff like that. Or you just don't do it. You keep it up in your brain and then you use it for some other thing. So I'm not dumb enough to say, oh, well, this is what I learned and blah, blah, blah. No, I can't use real things that happen on the air, but off the air, Beatles and legends, when I see you, I'll tell you exactly. But it's the way it works. It's the way the power works. And, you know, when power fights power, it's like nuclear war. You got to turn it off. Because if two organizations like Coke and Pepsi really went to war with each other, you could have a third organization like Dr. Pepper come up in the background and overtake both of you. Easily. So you got that balance of, so the same thing with the Baltimore Orioles. Something like that happens, you got two hotheads. Angelos isn't stupid. He knows during the lean years, people are going to come in. They love Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown can be a face for the franchise. Not many people get. And Kevin Brown is not stupid enough to say, I don't want to be a Brian Clough. I'm a hothead. But I don't want to lose my job here because in today's cancel culture, if all of a sudden I go against what the owners want and I'm this vocal about it, then who the hell's going to touch me? Who's going to touch me? Nobody's going to touch me. I'll be doing AAA for the Portland farm system the rest of my life. I got to sit back. You know, I got to sit back. If this were about ethics, we would have heard about it. But it's not about ethics. It's about hotheads. So both of them understand what they could lose. And when you do that, you got to be smart. I've had my hothead moments. That's the thing about your 20s and 30s. It's a time to learn. We're all assholes. You got to learn. If you don't learn in your 20s and 30s, you're going to be miserable from your 40s to your 60s. Miserable. Instead of just learning and laughing at other people going, yeah, I know what the hell happened. Yeah, it happened for me at an international school. I was hired by a guy that hated the assistant principal. So when he retired, the assistant principal came in. Then the school shut down. Guess what? Did I get recommendation to the other side? If I did, no, he wouldn't have. No, I wouldn't have got it. They were looking for 20 years, and I wasn't on board with him. Was I good enough to go over there and be effective? My hot-headedness says, yeah, I would have. In reality, I think I would have. But I don't think they would have had the support to bridge me up. I got a lot of that support in bits and pieces from a lot of great people. And that's why my hot-headedness caught me early And then all of a sudden I learned from my stupidity. And now today I'm comfortable in a great job with great people. But early on, it wasn't great to where I wasn't great. Early on, I was freaking hothead. Man, I was thinking, oh, blah, 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 blah. And we all have, and you're right. But only the elite of us can say that and mean it, that we all have. And that's a little bit of arrogance right there, but that's the way it is. So I look at that as a life lesson. Never take anything by its face value. And the second lesson is if they defused a nuclear weapon, we'd never know about it. Because the thing is this, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I just don't give a shit anymore. In the history books, we're told that 2 nuclear weapons were blown up in real life. Blah, blah, blah. And we tell Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah, well, when you're on a hill in Vietnam and you have a backpack and you get 2,000 people rushing a hill and there's 5 of you left, and you know what's happened, how it's going to happen when you get caught. Guess what happens? Look on Google Earth. The tree patterns are there. Do we report? Guess what happens if we do? That is more fun than knowing whether we did something or not. That is more fun, is saying why. Why? But anyway, I'm going to leave you on that. A 40-minute game. Yeah, look at this. I'm going to wrap this up. Your final score, 7-4. Good to see you, Legend Sports Universe. Beatles eternally got to get to bed. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. 8 hours of sleep. I'm not even going to scrub my teeth. Why? Well, maybe I will. Take a little bit. So I'm going to say have a great day to everybody. Long rant. Hour and 20 minutes. But you know what? Hey, 7-4 game. Average game. Game 6 tomorrow. We could have all clinchers tomorrow. So thank you, Legend Sports Universe. Beatles eternally. And Beatles will make it happen on your broadcast tomorrow morning. If I'm at work, I'm at school, I'll message you. I'm open any night, really. I'm really open any night. I'd love to be on your channel. And my schedule is actually a lot more open than you would expect. Like, I'm 9 hours ahead, and I'm always on here from about 7 o'clock to 10. So that's always from 10 o'clock your time to 1 p.m., 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would be very happy to be on there, and I think that we can even have a call-in show where people don't call in, but they can turn on the audio thing. Oh, I could be on. I'll set up my camera. I'm ugly as hell, so that'll be something for people to look at. You know, they missed the freak show in September, and they'll look at me and go, holy God, what the heck? That's what Years International will do to you. But anyway, I would love that, and then we could go back and forth. And then we could talk about all the stuff, baseball, power, how people work. Chuck Tanner, loving animals. A lot of stuff. Rick Russell, who lives a mile from me, is great. His daughter Casey's on my Facebook. You could see it, Casey Pasqualini. That's Russell's daughter. And you could see him in some of the pictures, too. He's a great guy. Great guy. Good grandfather. Great. You can see him in some of the pictures. I'm going to have lunch with him before, hopefully he doesn't have health problems or anything next summer. I'm going to say, hey, Casey, is your dad going to be in Pittsburgh, and all that stuff. Like to talk to him and just see how life is. Because I like talking to him about life. I don't know baseball. I know baseball a little bit, but I'm not going to freaking talk about... he'll talk about he was in the locker room during the earthquake. Now, that was interesting. I've been in a couple earthquakes here. But when he talks about facing batters and all that stuff, how the hell am I going to say? I'm going to be like, you face Barry Bonds. Okay? I play out of the freaking park baseball. Oh, I remember the time when I hit the number 2, and then I hit the number 1 for a curveball, and then I hit number 3 for a changeup, and oh, it was so stressful. What the hell am I going to say? What do you say to somebody like that? I love it when I talk to people and I have no stories. It shuts me up. That's the thing. It shuts me up. You want to shut me up? Put me in a room with somebody I can't tell a story to. Like, God, there are people. Yeah, I'd love to come on up. My cat is yelling at me anytime it deviates from normalcy, which I'm running late tonight. The cats yell at me. I got 2 cats, and they complain to me. They're like, what are you doing? They're like, you're up past 10:30. And I'm like, okay, Carl's the name of one cat, and Pishu, which is Pashtun for cat, is the name of the other. Both are rescues from people that were moving and all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun because there'll be no holds barred. And I think once you put cousin Ken Castro, which I don't know cousin Ken Castro, he's not my cousin, but I can tell that when Ken Castro comes into a chat, holy Christ. Yeah, Ken Castro is, I can't wait. I would love to hear his voice. Man, I'd love to get into a talk with him. He's oh, man, that'd be great. Yeah, all of a sudden Ken Castro comes in. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Look, I got to get to bed. I'm about to pass out here. I ended the game at 42 minutes, and this stream is 2 hours and 11 minutes. I've talked about everything from hidden nuclear history to freaking eternal, everything. Oh, my God. And I'm just screaming into a microphone here. All right. I got to get to bed. I'll see you tomorrow. I got to get off here. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.